From Brisbane, the capital city of Queensland, Australia, in 1994. And tonight, the world's elite have made their way to the Brisbane Convention and Exhibition Center. It's Goodwill Games Gymnastics, and here's Kevin Harlan.
Strength, flexibility, athleticism, artistry. Elements that make up a world-class gymnast. Gymnasts like current Russian Olympic champion Alexei Nemov and longtime Goodwill Games competitor Oksana Chusovitina, who as a 15-year-old won gold in Seattle with this vault. Reigning Games all-around champion Ivan Ivankov is here. And the queen of the uneven bars, Svetlana Horkina from Russia. But the Goodwill Games also provides a stepping stone for young athletes to showcase their talent and give us a glimpse into their future. And welcome everyone to the opening night of Gymnastics from the Brisbane Convention and Exhibition Center, where an elite field is gathered for the Goodwill Games. Hi everyone, I'm Kevin Harlan alongside three-time Olympian and gold medalist Dominique Dawes and Olympic gold medalist Bart Connor. What about the men's field tonight?
It's an incredibly strong men's field. In fact, in the floor exercise, all three medalists from the Sydney Olympics will be competing here, including Alexei Nemov, who is the superstar of gymnastics, the winner of 6 gold medals in Sydney and 12 overall in his Olympic career. He is amazing, and he'll be fun to watch. On the pommel horse, Marius Urzika will be competing. He's the reigning Olympic champion there. For the United States, Brett McClure will compete on floor and on pommel horse, and he'll have to be in his best form if he hopes to challenge the sport's greatest stars.
And of course, all eyes toward the World Championships later this year in Belgium. What about the women's side?
Well, the women's side has a star-studded Olympic reigning champion, Svetlana Horkina, as well as Yelena Zamolodchikova will be competing this evening. The United States decided to bring their young, up-and-coming top juniors, and unfortunately, their first all-around champion, Crystal Uzlak, will not be competing at this event due to a slight knee injury that she sustained last week. But in her place, Tia Orlando will be here.
And for more on that involved story, let's send it downstairs to Dee Lineup.
The U.S. has sent 4 young gymnasts to these Goodwill Games, including Tia Orlando. But Tia, unlike her fellow Americans, didn't have as much preparation as they did. Explain to everyone why that was.
I was supposed to go to Japan like 2 weeks after this, and Crystal got hurt, unfortunately, but they sent me to compete floor. So it's real exciting.
All right, now you are competing in floor, which you got first at Junior Nationals in the U.S., but this is your first international competition. So how do you think that might be a little different for you?
I try not to think it's going to be that different. Try not to be nervous or anything. Try to do the same thing, actually.
All right, good luck to you, Tia.
Thank you.
Okay, Dee, thank you. And here is the order for the men's floor exercise. And you can see number 4, Brett McClure. The American men are probably more confident following last weekend's performance at the World University Games in Beijing, Bart.
In fact, it was a terrific success for American Sean Tonson, who will be competing in the all-around here. He was 4th place tied in the all-around there, so that was a great boost for the morale for the U.S. team.
And here is 20-year-old Marian Dragulescu from Romania, competing in his first Goodwill Games, looking to win the Romanian men's first Goodwill Games medal of any color since 1994.
He is the reigning European champion on the floor exercise. Finished 13th in the all-around at the Olympics in Sydney. He's really well known for being a balanced gymnast, good on all the events, but he's particularly good on the leg events, like the floor and the vault.
13th all-around and 6th on the floor exercise at the Sydney Games.
We're going to have to pay attention to some of these bounding skills, because the athletes today earlier were complaining about having trouble controlling the floor mat. Watch for the landings. It was a nice high double layout with a full twist. This is a critical pass for him right here. Oh, and I believe he was on the line, but I don't see a yellow flag go up, so he didn't go out of bounds. You can touch the line, but you can't go over it.
And when you go over the line, it's a 1/10 of a point.
That's right.
Penalty, and that is what he seemed to avoid there.
It's very interesting. This is the same floor mat that they used at the Olympics at Sydney, and many gymnastics fans will remember that a high percentage of athletes actually bounced out of the area, and it became an issue because the floor mat is actually very stiff, but there's a soft layer of foam over the top of the springs, and that is a cause for some control problems for the athletes.
You think it's stiff. Dominique, have you been down there to see what kind of surface they've got?
I touched the floor a little bit. It feels exactly how it was in Sydney. A little stiff, a little hard to control, but I'm sure the athletes will adjust to it just fine.
Great. Last tumbling run, a double twisting, double back.
Marian Dragulescu from Romania.
Very interesting that his tumbling was all very clean and technically very precise, but he didn't stick any landings. That's going to be an issue here.
Let's see his first run.
Really nice mechanics in everything that he does. Beautiful double layout with a full twist in the second somersault, and you see how the floor recoiled? I talked to Dragulescu before the meet, and he said the floor bites back.
The young Romanian gymnast didn't have a chance to have a very smooth traveling expedition here, but they have made it. And many of these young gymnasts are still very much affected by the death of a young Romanian gymnast, Alexandra Heiss, 12-year-old, and the brain aneurysm was unrelated to her gymnastics training. But nonetheless, this is a very emotional group, a very passionate group that we find here in Brisbane.
Yeah, teammates are definitely important. You are always pulling for one another. Yes, you're competing against one another, but you're friends, you're getting along, and you root for one another, and they help you come along.
Dragulescu is a pretty fun guy. He's known to be one of the leaders when the gymnasts finish competing and they head out to the nightclubs. I've seen this guy do some of those gymnastics moves on the dance floor. And in fact, when I got here the other day, he handed me a CD that he made on his PC of his favorite dance music. He said, hey, just here's one for you, Bart.
And
it's
Did you
good.
like it?
It's good. Yeah, I was dancing around in the hotel room.
You'll have to play it later, Bart.
that's what all that noise was last night. Looks like one of the judges was having a hard time with his keypad. They've got that figured out, and the numbers are in. 9-3-1-2. 9-3-1-2 for Marian Dragulescu from Romania.
The Olympic floor champion from Latvia, Igor Zvirovs.
Now Igor Zvirovs from Latvia. He won independent Latvia's first gold medal in any sport in Olympic history when he placed first on the floor exercise at the 2000 Olympics in Sydney.
He nailed a spectacular routine and did a double twisting double somersault at the end and just drilled it. Let's see if he can control the landings a little better than Dragulescu. You see that score of 9-3-1-2. People should get used to lower scores than they saw last year because the judges are requiring a higher level of difficulty now. That's affecting the athletes here. Out of bounds. You saw the red flag go up. That means that the slight bobbles on the step. The landing will cost him some deductions, but also he went out of bounds, an extra 10th.
Zvirovs is 5'5", 141 pounds, and 23 years of age.
Keep in mind what the judges are watching for. They need to see tumbling forward, like forward somersaults, backward somersaults type tumbling, side somersaults, a balance, a strength, or a flexibility move. This qualifies as a strength move. Needs to hold it a little bit longer. The floor exercise routine for the men lasts up to 70 seconds. And usually at 60 seconds, you hear a signal that allows the gymnast to know that they have 10 seconds to finish.
Very nice.
Good solid landing there, but the other bobbles early will cost him.
Igor Zvirovs from Latvia. He was Latvia's only gymnast in Sydney.
Got the gold. That's pretty good.
Not bad.
Just one guy. That's all you need.
It's a team of one. He was one of the last arrivals here, too, in Brisbane.
We're going to talk a lot about these bounding, tumbling sequences. That's when the floor mat comes into play because the gymnasts are doing 3 of these bounding skills in a row. Looked like he was in pretty good shape on the 3rd one, but just a little over-rotated. Full twisting double back. This one he did drill. Good control on the landing on that last tumbling pass.
He is a hero in his country of Latvia. In November 2000, after the Sydney Games, a postage stamp was issued in Latvia featuring a portrait and an illustration of him performing on the floor exercise. Now, I don't recall seeing or maybe there was a stamp of you.
I don't know. I don't remember that one. Yeah. Do you have a stamp up there in Green Bay anywhere?
I think I have a stamp of you, Bart. I think I...
Yeah, that's the one I used to send out to everybody.
You were sending a lot of letters at that time. And his numbers are in. He is in 2nd place to Dragulescu. 8.962. 8.962 for Igor Spirhos. Up next, the 23-year-old Russian, Aleksey Bondarenko from Kazakhstan. He returns for his 2nd Goodwill Games. He won 5 medals, including the all-around silver at the 1998 Games in New York.
I really like this young gymnast. He's 5'3", 116 pounds. He's as light as a bird. But he technically is very strong, quick. And if he can control the floor today, he could do very well here. Nice. Double twisting, double back mount. This is an important bounding, tumbling pass. Oh, he botched that a little bit.
And tried to cover.
All right. This is interesting. His feet actually were out of bounds while he was in the air, but as long as they don't touch outside of the line, there is no deduction. And he very cleverly worked his way back into safe territory.
Aleksey was 3rd on the floor exercise at the 98 Goodwill Games.
He left Kazakhstan, his home, at 15 to move to Moscow to train at the National Center there. But he still supports his family. These gymnasts make a pretty good living these days, and the prize money and appearance fees for major competitions doesn't hurt.
His father is a retired crane operator. His mom is a retired cook. So you're right. Here's a source of income. Nice finish.
Yeah, very clean. Technically, he's a very sound gymnast. Has all the qualities, the strength, the flexibility, the quickness, the clean form, all of those things that count in this highly subjective sport.
And here may have been the fleck that the judges will see.
It's the 1.5 twist. He goes to a layout front, and right here he wants to do a front with 1.5 twist, and he only makes it around a full twist. Managed to keep it in bounds, but he won't earn the type of bonus points for doing that combination that he had hoped. These are the flares. Look at that technique. Beautiful position as he goes up to the handstand, keeps the rhythm going, and back down to the flares.
With this new code you're talking about, what is the difference to the person watching back in the States of what they're seeing now is compared to what they saw at the Sydney Games?
Well, it's definitely important. Combinations are important. Increasing your difficulty is important, whereas something might have been of higher value back then, it's a lower value today.
It's tough on all the athletes the year after the Olympics when they're all kind of relaxing and recovering from the Olympics. They have to go back and learn a lot of new skills. And this has been a rough year in the world of gymnastics. Most of the stars have been struggling with coming up with new combinations, higher level of difficulty in order to get good scores. But it happens every 4 years. The judges rewrite the rule book and essentially raise the standards just to keep slightly ahead of the athletes, because you don't want the athletes all scoring 10s all the time.
Bondarenko with his floor exercise number of 9237, and he is currently in 2nd place behind Dragulescu. And our first look at Brett McClure from the United States, 20 years old, born in Yakima, Washington, now lives in Colorado Springs, Colorado, appearing in his first Goodwill Games.
He was second at the all-around at the U.S. Championships this year. Always impressed with this young man's talent. He has had some inconsistency problems, and I noticed in practice he was struggling a little with these bounding skills on the floor. Let's see if he can do it here. Oh! He went for a very difficult opening run, but once again, out of control on the landing. He needs to nail this next pass. Beautiful double layout. Unfortunately, he gave away a major deduction early.
And he's got basically his whole program ahead of him. How do you keep up that mental sharpness? And he falls again.
Yeah, definitely it's gotten away from him. He definitely hasn't forgotten about his first mistake that he made. He knew he missed all his combination, and right away he knew his score was going to be low.
Not that you made a lot of mistakes, but if something like that happened to you, how would you try to collect yourself?
Oh, trust me, I made my share of mistakes. But you know, you just put it behind your head. You're not perfect. You keep going on, and you know you have a whole nother routine that you have to finish.
One of the skills that he fell on was one of the new requirements. The judges look for a side somersault, or what they call an Arabian type skill. This is his final tumbling run. In trouble again, and botched that combination. So an unlucky day for the young man.
So a tough beginning for Brett McClure from the United States. We're at the Brisbane Convention and Exhibition Center and Gymnastics at the 2001 Goodwill Games. We're back at Gymnastics, the men's floor exercise in Brisbane, Queensland, the Brisbane Convention and Exhibition Center, and Brett McClure from the United States, the fourth participant tonight in the men's floor exercise, having a rough go and finishing with an 8.5.
He was going for a very nice combination for his first tumbling run. This would earn him 5/10 of bonus if he made this double twister. He pulled it around nicely, but unfortunately, another athlete struggling with this unusual floor surface.
Our next participant, 20-year-old Yo Yanao from Beijing, China, appearing in his first Goodwill Games, as are many of the participants here. And again, kind of a sneak preview of what we'll see at the World Championships coming up in the fall, and also the 2004 Games in Athens.
Well, this will be a wonderful time for all the competitors to, you know, get warmed up, ready, mentally and physically for the World Championships a month from now.
He was off in that first tumbling sequence. He needs to hit this one. 2.5 twist, punch front, punch front. Now that was supposed to be a front with a full twist at the end of that sequence. So, as the athletes had predicted, they're having a difficult time with this floor mat. I guess the issue with the floor mat is it's very unforgiving. Other different types of surfaces, if you're a little bit off, you can kind of finesse your way back into control. But this one, if you're a little bit off, it could lead to disastrous results.
Well, the thing with hard floor mats, you definitely have to focus on absorbing the landing a lot more. If not, you'll just bounce out of bounds really easily.
It's his last tumbling run. Oh, just a simple double twist. He knows that he lost some valuable bonus points earlier and would be out of the running, so he went with an easier final tumbling run.
Yo Yanao. And here's his first run.
He won the all-around in the high bar at the 2000 Chinese National Championships, which were held right after the Olympics in Sydney, when a lot of the Chinese stars were out of competition. This is a 1.5 twister to a full twist, and right here he was hoping to do a nice 1.5 twist, and he was shorter rotation and fell forward. Now he made the combination, but he needs to land closer to vertical. This last tumbling run was a very clean but simple double twister. Not difficult enough if he hopes to finish in the medals compared to the field we have here with people like Nemov, Yovchev, Dragulescu, and others.
Yo Yanan with a 9.125, 9.125. So he currently is in third place. And up now, Jordan Jovchev from Bulgaria, lives in Norman, Oklahoma. He's appearing in his first Goodwill Games.
He was the bronze medalist on the floor and the rings at the Sydney Olympics. He has a spectacular routine, but he needs to make this most important tumbling pass right here if he's going to be a contender.
He's 28 years old. He's 5'3", 133 pounds.
Even though he's a little guy at 5'3", he went out of bounds. Watch this pass here. Whip to a 1.5 twisting layout. 1 3/4. Nice. Yovchev is really most known for his clean execution. Look at the body line. Execution, straight legs, beautiful toe point.
He won 2 bronze medals and finished 8th all around at the 2000 Olympics in Sydney. 17th all around at the 96 Olympics in Atlanta.
His wife back home in Norman, Oriana, is expecting their first child December the 11th. It'll be a little boy. And Jordan needs to bring home some medals and hopefully a little prize money.
A little money.
Double layout. Beautiful landing. So far, the cleanest in terms of controlling the landings of any gymnast today.
Bulgaria's Jordan Jovchev.
So interesting, here he is at 28 years old, still competing. Gymnasts hang around a lot longer these days because they're actually making a living at it. A lot different than when we competed. See, he went over rotating on that third bounding tumbling skill, but only 1/10 of a point for going out. Second tumbling arm, watch as he does a whip back right to a move called a Thomas, invented by American Kurt Thomas years ago, and Jordan does it in the laid out position, which earns him even more difficulty. The final tumbling run, the double layout, was clean, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. It was looking really good. Great form. One of my favorite tumbling passes to do.
Good fight on the landing there.
He told you he lives and trains in Norman. After the 96 Olympics in Atlanta, he and 2 Bulgarian teammates remained in the U.S. for better career and financial prospects. And we have a new leader, Jordan Jovchev from Bulgaria, 9.375. He just moves in front of Romania's Mariana Dragulescu.
There's his coach, who also lives in the States. He lives down in Houston, Vasil Vasilev. Many of these coaches move from their countries to the West for higher paying jobs.
Now Alexander Barish from the Ukraine, appearing in his first Goodwill Games. The Ukrainian men have not won a medal in the games since 1994.
Wow, and he went for a very nice combination there. Slipped, unfortunately. That'll be a major deduction. Barish is a very complete gymnast. Incredibly spectacularly difficult routines on the high bar that we'll see later on in the week.
He's 23 years of age. Born in the Soviet Union.
His coach is Igor Korobchinsky, who was a former world champion back in 1989. And I spoke to Igor yesterday, and he said Alexander's really having trouble with one of his shoulders, injured trying a new move on the high bar.
In fact, he stopped working out yesterday and was treated by a medical staff member. So that was even bothering yesterday in the practice.
He also went out of bounds on that final tumbling run, so that is becoming an issue here. Just like the Olympics in Sydney, a high percentage of the athletes actually bouncing out of the area because of this unusual surface. That double front somersault looked like it was just about right, but perhaps the mat kicked him back a little bit.
And I'm getting from some of the comments that we've read from the athletes practicing over the last handful of days that all surfaces are not the same, and that this is certainly different from a lot of these people practice on all year long.
That's definitely true. Whenever you go to competitions within the states or even outside of the states, the equipment is never the same. You have to adjust the equipment. It might be harder, and in this case, it's hard, definitely harder. So you just have to work at it, get adjusted, and do the routines you do at home.
Many of these athletes just arrived in the last couple of days. Often when you go to a major international meet, you come 8, 10 days, 12 days before to adjust to the time zone as well as the equipment. And some of these athletes just flew down from China last night, where many of them were competing in the World University Games.
Including a couple Americans.
There's Korobchinsky, the former world champion, now the president of the Ukrainian Gymnastics Federation and head coach for the men.
So we have new rules we're dealing with, a code of points which is altered, heightened, things a bit more difficult now. And for the coaches, too, they continually at meets like this get a feel for the world situation, what their athletes have to go up against.
Definitely all the coaches here are assessing not only how their athletes are taking to this new code of points, but as well as their competitors as well. They want to see if everyone else is at an 8-0 start value or a 9-0 start value or a 10-0 start value.
Alexander Barish from the Ukraine, now number 6, with a total of 8-5-1-2. And here, Alexei Nemov from Russia, his 3rd consecutive Goodwill Games.
This guy is the man. Watch these first 2 tumbling runs. The first one should be a laid-out double back somersault with 2 twists. Oh, yeah, just a little shorter rotation. The most important pass is the one coming up now. It's one of those bounding passes, the same one from Barish with a double front at the end. Let's see if he can make it. There it is. Oh, he went out. He was off on the 3rd bounding skill and didn't even go for the double.
Seems like a lot of these athletes are having trouble with this floor here.
I watched him this morning try it about 6 or 8 times in practice, and he fell down almost every time. So he missed the potential combination bonus. He went out of bounds. His difficulty value will be lower. That's a perfect example of how tough the rules are now. Beautiful side somersault. He's such a stylist.
He won the floor exercise gold medal at the 98 and 94 Goodwill Games. So he's got a great history. Finishes strong. Let's see where they place him.
He's not happy with that because of that second tumbling pass. He will probably finish out of the medals. It looks like Yovchev will win with the 9-3-7-5, because take a look at this combination here. There's the full twist and then the layout, and right here he's supposed to go for a double front somersault, and he just kicks out because he didn't quite have the right setup and timing out of the second tumbling skill to go for it. So a major deduction for leaving that out. And once again, trouble controlling those landings. I hate to talk about the floor in this way, but I hate when the equipment is a factor, and unfortunately, this floor exercise mat has become a factor in the results here. Never forget when we first saw him back at the 94 Goodwill Games in St. Petersburg. Such a young man with incredible potential, and then to go on to win 12 Olympic medals is just an enormous accomplishment. It's a big weekend for this young guy. His baby boy is a year old this weekend.
Nemov finishes with 8.975. 8.975. And here is our winner from Bulgaria, Jordan Yovchev, who won 2 bronze medals at the 2000 Olympic Games in Sydney, is our winner at the men's floor exercise. Next, we go to Ernie Johnson.